As I look across crypto, there's few charts that look more exciting than Quant right now, and as well as that, they go and drop an enormous piece of news that has me really excited about where we can potentially see Quant going. In this video, we're going to talk about all of that, as well as where I see Quant going in the future. Hit the like button, and let's get into the video. Now, guys, first of all, let's just look at the Quant chart, because something very appealing is going on, and it's really sort of starting to knock a lot of people's confidence, because you can see Quant has been in this downtrend for quite some time. I think this downtrend is going to break, and we're going to talk about exactly why I think it's going to break slightly later on. But what I want to talk about first of all, guys, is this really very exciting piece of news regarding Quant's Overledger, which is now available on OutSystems Forge. Now, if you are non-technical, like myself, then you'll be perhaps able to understand my description of what Quant is really going to be able to deliver. One of the main features of Quant is the Overledger. Now, if you're a developer and you're specialized in developing on Solana, Ethereum, Polygon, whatever, then your specialization makes it very difficult for you to build dApps, whatever, onto other chains. This is a massive limiting factor in cryptocurrency, because everyone's kind of competing against each other, no one really kind of working on the same area of interest. What Quant brings in with its Overledger technology is to allow non-specialized developers to be able to build dApps that go cross-chain without really needing any superior technical knowledge. This is a very exciting thing. Once you also roll up all the other stuff going on with CBDCs right now, whether you like it or not, Quant is a massive player there. So why is this such a big deal? Well, as the CTO mentions here, from now on, building blockchain applications will be child's play. We now can see across the world, BlackRock ETF, all these different ETFs and stuff piling in. We're now starting to see a move towards mass adoption. Now, mass adoption doesn't mean everyone out there going and trading crypto on Bybit or whatever exchange you choose to use, but what it really means is everyone basically using and interacting with the technology, perhaps without even realizing. When you're sending money from one bank to another, you probably don't understand how it works, neither do I, but I still use that technology. This is what crypto mass adoption looks like, and Quant could be a very big piece of that puzzle. Now, this is very exciting. So OutSystems Forge is basically an open source system. It means that people can go and access the code in order to be able to create different things without having to pay for it or anything like that. This is true to the exciting part of what crypto is all about. And this is very important, because it's really going to help drive people's awareness of Quant. Overledger is the first blockchain technology provider to launch on OutSystems Forge, a repository of open code modules, UI components, and business solutions that is well known amongst developers for accelerating application delivery time. You're like, what on earth does that mean? Well, imagine you're a developer. Someone says, I want you to build this application on my network to do to capture payments or to do whatever it is. You're then going to go and access the library of open source coding documents, of which Overledger is one. Be able to access that code, implement it into your development, and be able to implement a multi-blockchain system. Now, that's a very straightforward and simple explanation, and hopefully you can understand from that. Now, we already know that Quant is working heavily with the Bank of England, amongst other big players around the world. They've been interacting with governments on CBDCs, which, may be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't really care. Like, I know that governments will do whatever they want to be able to control different situations. Again, no conspiracy theories here, but by 2030, 24 central banks could have CBDCs. There's nothing you can do about that. There's nothing I can do about that. All I can do is maybe get on board and try and profit from that news. Very exciting. So, and here are just a few of things that Overledger API modules might be used for to deliver easy to integrate interoperable blockchain functionality, built-in authentication, configuring environmental variables, ready-to-go API, simple transaction signing process. Now, again, you don't need to understand exactly how this tech works, although you can come across to the Quant Network website, and there is a ton of information available there where you can go and find out more about it. And I recommend doing that if you're interested in potentially going and investing in this crypto, because obviously you should always do your own research. But once we start to understand that a lot of global banks are starting to look at the likes of Quant and ISO 20022 tokens to be able to move forward to like a TradeFi world. That means that all of the kind of global trade and everything like that will start to take place on chain. It's very exciting. Quant could well be one of the pillars for that kind of development. And what is very exciting right now is the Quant is not doing a huge amount. And you're like, well, that's not very exciting. And I agree. But what makes it exciting is what happens next. Because when lots of exciting stuff happens, usually not a lot happens. And when loads of not a lot happens, usually something exciting happens. I think it makes sense. So what we're seeing right now is the Quant price being squeezed, much like a tube of toothpaste with the lid on. The harder you squeeze it, eventually that lid will come off and you have a big toothpastey mess. What we can see right now is Quant finding support in an area of interest. Why is it an area of interest? Well, look at it, guys. Every time it's arriving here, around $98, in fact, a little bit lower, then we see something very significant happening. Let me just pull this across and let me just turn it green to not confuse anyone about what is going on in this area of interest. Now, when we get pullbacks into this zone, in fact, let's drag it further across. Historically, after the last bull market, we saw Quant dip down as this area between, $86 and $97. It did this twice, it bounced up. Eventually, it kind of came and tried to bounce out again, and yet it piled in underneath. It went all the way down to $43 back in 2022. Importantly, though, it does interact differently with the rest of crypto markets, which is quite a surprising thing to see. When Bitcoin's pumping, Quant can have some good moves, but when Bitcoin's dumping, it doesn't seem to be so heavily affected, which is a very positive thing. So you can see this was around the time of FTX. Yes, obviously it had a bit of a sell-off, but yet it didn't really put in new lows, whereas everyone else was putting in new lows around this time. Where we're sat right now is in line with basically the bottom of the FTX crash here, okay? What we can identify across here is a kind of an area of a buy zone. We can see that there's big buys coming out of this. Even as we go through this area, you can see big candles interacting with this area each time. Now, as you can see, guys, it's pretty kind of choppy. There's not a huge amount of volume in the charts for Quant, but something very important. As we're moving down in the trade volume and other things like that, we need to think about something else. Quant's now positioning itself to become the center, almost, of mass adoption within cryptocurrency. It's making developments all the time, even when no one's really paying attention. The market's really pretty gloomy. It's got a big booming community of people who are very excited about the opportunities, working on CBDCs, you name it. Also, pair that up with the fact that it has a supply lower than Bitcoin. Very important. It's also non-inflationary. Very important. Stack these things together, guys. Whenever we move into a full-blown bull market, Quant is more than ready to get going. And what we're seeing right now is something important. As we move in and we have a buy zone area, which we've identified here, what you'll often get is a move down into the buy zone area that looks a bit like this. This is basically what boredom looks like. People are getting bored, starting to go and find something else, buying into Casper because Casper's doing 10%. Games for a living doing 13%. Exciting days, okay? The rookies out there will be jumping ship and buying the tops of those tokens when everyone else is waiting for this. As we meet this apex, you can see that over the next couple of days, and potentially before this video is even aired, we're going to have to make a decision. I think the Quant is potentially going to be breaking beyond here. There's no guarantee, of course, that it can't just slide and do a dip like this. But I think that if it does do a slide, because this buy zone remains quite strong, that we could see a dip and a very quick buy up. So it's worth, in my opinion, of course, if you are well researched in Quant and you think it's a good buy, maybe having some purchasing around now, and then putting in, if you got any left over, some cheeky buy orders down here. You go to an exchange, you put in a limit buy order around this price. Therefore, if you get like something like this happen where it wicks down and goes back up, you will get currently 11%. So 11% better value, which means if you buy it there and it brings back up here, you're 14%, which when you're up here, it's 47% rather than just being here and being up 27%. That's just worth checking out. If we're breaking beyond here, guys, who knows exactly where it could break, but last time, or one of the earlier times we were in this area, look what happened. We broke all the way up to here. Now, remember, we're not necessarily looking to ride Quant to the moon right now. 141%. If I get 141% out of Quant right now, I'll take some profits. I'll put it into something else. If Quant comes back down, I'll load up more Quant. If not, I'll load it into something else. It's very straightforward, guys. Stop aiming for like 50 to 100x in every coin that you're buying, right? You just need to aim for like a few X's and then just move it around, get your X's, and it's very much easier to remain calmer when you're doing that. But in the past, Quant achieved a dizzying high of 329% higher than it is right now. I get it. It's not massive to go back to that previous all-time high. But I think with the development and things that are going on with Quant right now, in my opinion, I think it's reasonable to shout for somewhere up towards $1,000. Well, guys, I know that if I tell you that Quant's going to be worth $1 million, I'll get way more likes on this video because it's going to boost your dopamine. It's going to make you feel happy and good inside. And yeah, that's how it works. But I'm not going to do that because I like to be a bit more honest than perhaps some of my counterpart YouTubers have touched. As we come down below and we look at the market cap, Quant, it's highly speculative every time we look at this. All I'm really thinking right now, in my own opinion, is that Quant is not going to go to zero. That's what I've talked about recently, and a very important thing. Because if it's not going to go to zero, it's going to survive and go beyond its all-time high. In my opinion, of course. Circulating supply already very high, as in a very high percentage, which is a good thing. Fully diluted market cap, 1.4 billion with a B dollars. Now, anticipating in the future the Quant could be established and used for pretty much global TradeFi and God knows what else, can we see it pushing to a $100 billion? Is it reasonable? If you look at the last bull run, the likes of Ethereum and various others achieved like $500 billion. I don't think it's unreasonable to see Quant pushing for a 50x plus, which would see it pushing to around $5,000 a token. Now that's a very, very generous upside potential. And we are looking longer term with Quant. In the short term, however, we can see a very good opportunity for getting involved. Look at this, zoom out, look where we are. We're low, very high, low, not very far down. We're quite low down. Risk to reward. That's what it is, guys. Risk to reward. Quant looks very promising. Let me know down below your thoughts on where Quant's going. Now, guys, something that I want to bring up that's really important. If you're in the US or whatever country you're in and you're trying to use things like Coinbase and stuff, it's like going to cost you like 10% before you've even started. I know it's difficult in the US because of various regulations, which is why I recommend using MEXC. I specifically approach them because they are non-KYC, know your customer, which means you can remain anonymous. With MEXC, they got 0% spot trading fees, 0% future trading fees. Really, really good. They have tons of different coins available. Pretty much everything you can find on KuCoin, Binance, you can find it on MEXC. Also, guys, I recommend sticking with a Nord VPN, which means that you can then position yourself in another place in the world. Currently, I'm in the UK, but if I wanted to go and access, let's say, Netflix in the USA, I could just drop myself into the USA and then access things. The same goes if you want to trade crypto and remain anonymous and work from different secure IP addresses. It makes sense that you use NordVPN. Link down below in the description. You'll get a 30-day money-back guarantee, 4 months free if you sign up. It's like the price of a cup of coffee afterwards, guys. You can then trade using MEXC, remaining completely anonymous, which obviously comes with its benefits. I'll let you think about what those might be, as well as just being able to access some amazing coins at 0% fees. Guys, stop using Coinbase. So many better options. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, hit the like button for me. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.